Imagine looking out your window and seeing flashing red and blue lights, knowing that your freedom for the next 48 hours is about to be decided by a literal toss of a coin. You might think this sounds like a scene from a twisted movie, but this exact scenario plays out on real streets with real people. And by the end of this breakdown, I'm going to reveal the one specific psychological trap police use in these exact moments that forces you to surrender your constitutional rights without even realizing it. This one detail changes absolutely everything about how you interact with law enforcement, but the real nightmare does not start with the coin flip. It starts with the illusion of absolute authority. Let us examine a chilling scenario that exposes the dark underbelly of discretionary policing. Picture a young professional driving home after an exhausting night shift. We will call him Marcus. Marcus is pulled over for allegedly drifting over the center line. The officer approaches, completely unsure if a crime has actually been committed or if it was just a moment of driver fatigue. Instead of relying on extensive academy training, objective evidence, or the strict letter of the law, the officer pulls out a smartphone, opens a digital coin flipping application, and lets an algorithm decide if Marcus sleeps in his own bed or on a concrete slab in a holding cell. And this is where most people completely fail to understand the absolute danger of the situation. You see, discretionary arrest authority allows an officer to choose between writing a simple traffic citation or placing you in steel handcuffs, provided they actually have probable cause. However, using a game of chance completely obliterates the very concept of professional legal judgment. It strips away the constitutional protections designed to keep citizens safe from tyrannical whims. But the deeper issue here is not just the sheer ridiculousness of tossing a coin to decide a human being's fate. The real danger lies in what happens immediately after those cuffs click shut. The moment you're placed under arrest, whether it is legally justified or the result of a ridiculous roadside gamble, a massive domino effect of legal loopholes is triggered against you. And here is a secret law enforcement absolutely hopes you never figure out. A formal arrest grants them the golden key to perform a complete inventory search of your vehicle. They will look you in the eye and tell you it is just standard procedure to protect your personal belongings from theft while your car is towed away to the impound lot. But make no mistake, this is a legally sanctioned fishing expedition. If they find absolutely anything questionable during this so-called routine inventory, you are suddenly facing brand new, completely separate felony charges that have nothing to do with the original traffic stop. But wait, it gets even more manipulative. This is the exact trap that catches 99% of innocent citizens completely off guard. After putting you in the claustrophobic back seat of the cruiser, the officer might suddenly act like your best friend. They might casually ask if you need to call your boss, your lawyer, or your spouse to let them know you will be delayed. They will smile a comforting smile and say they just need you to quickly unlock your phone so you can make that one important call. Do not ever fall for this trick. Never, under any circumstances, unlock your device or hand over your biometric passcode to a police officer. The Supreme Court ruled explicitly in Riley v. California that police need a signed warrant to search the massive digital life contained on your cell phone. But the second you voluntarily unlock that glowing screen, you are handing them an all-access, unrestricted pass to your private text messages, your personal photos, your banking emails, and your precise location history. They will use your own polite cooperation to dig up a retroactive justification for the completely bogus coin flip arrest they just initiated. But this is exactly where the narrative gets incredibly frustrating for anyone who believes in justice. You would naturally assume that the criminal justice system has built-in alarms to immediately catch, reprimand, and punish an officer who violently gambles with civil liberties. But the terrifying reality is that without massive public accountability, these actions are almost always buried deeply in bureaucratic paperwork. The system is fundamentally designed from the ground up to protect its own members. When an officer sits down to write up the official incident report, do you honestly think they are going to explicitly state that the custody decision was made by heads or tails? Absolutely not. They will expertly fabricate a clinical, sterile, and highly rehearsed narrative about your supposed erratic driving behavior and their subsequent professional decision to legally initiate custody to protect the public. And this brings us to the absolute most critical survival tactic you can ever master in your entire life. The desperate battle for your freedom is never, ever won on the wet pavement of the side of the road. It is won in a sterile, air-conditioned courtroom months later by a skilled attorney. If you find yourself the unfortunate victim of an absurd, unjust, or outright illegal arrest, your primitive emotional brain is going to scream at you to immediately fight back. You will want to argue your case. You will want to shout at the top of your lungs. You will want to logically explain why the officer is completely wrong. But this is exactly where the corrupt side of the system completely banks on your predictable emotional reaction. The exact moment you raise your voice in frustration, tense your shoulder muscles, or act defensively toward the badge, you hand that corrupt officer the ultimate legal gift. You give them a legitimate, ironclad charge of resisting arrest or disorderly conduct. which completely overshadows and legally erases the original bogus reason for the traffic stop. So, what must you actually do when faced with this nightmare? You must become a stone-cold wall of complete silence. You state clearly and firmly that you are invoking your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and your Sixth Amendment right to legal counsel. You remain physically compliant, keeping your hands visible but legally unyielding. You do not consent to any vehicle searches, you do not answer any probing investigative questions, and you absolutely do not engage in a heated debate about the merits of the traffic stop. By maintaining extreme emotional control, you preserve the exact facts of the case perfectly for your defense attorney to mercilessly rip the officer apart on the witness stand during cross-examination. The broken parts of the system rely entirely on you losing your temper so they can magically justify their own severe misconduct. Do not ever give them that dark satisfaction. It is deeply horrifying to realize that the shiny shield meant to protect the innocent can sometimes be callously wielded as a blunt weapon of arbitrary destruction. The sad, uncomfortable truth is that internal affairs departments and powerful police unions will very often excuse this horrific behavior as a mere momentary lapse in judgment or a harmless workplace joke, completely ignoring the sheer psychological terror inflicted on the innocent citizen sitting locked in the back of the patrol car. But overwhelming public pressure changes the legal equation entirely. When body camera footage of these absurd coin flip arrests inevitably leaks to the mainstream media, the police department suddenly cares very deeply about ethics and morality. They scramble frantically to drop the bogus charges and fire the offending officers, not out of a sudden, miraculous moral awakening, but purely out of a desperate, selfish need to save their own crumbling public relations image and avoid a massive civil rights lawsuit. And this is exactly why you must intimately know your constitutional rights, mentally document absolutely everything during the terrifying encounter, and physically survive the immediate confrontation without catching new charges so you can expose the dark misconduct in the bright light of day. Do not ever let a reckless gamble dictate your precious destiny. Stay completely silent, stay perfectly calm, never hand over your digital life, and let your expensive lawyer do all the aggressive talking when the strategic time is absolutely right. Now, if you think being thrown in a cage over a digital coin flip is the absolute worst thing that can happen, that is just the tip of the iceberg. Did you know that corrupt cops have an entire hidden bag of psychological tricks they absolutely love to pull out anytime you foolishly choose to open your mouth and they start aggressively asking questions? The rabbit hole goes much deeper than you could ever imagine. Check out this next deep dive where I ruthlessly break down all those dirty interrogation tricks and give you the exact psychological steps and precise words you can say to stop abusive cops completely dead in their tracks before they ruin your life forever. Do not wait until you are in handcuffs to learn this. See you over there.